Joining me now is MSNBC political analyst Peter Beinart. Peter is the author of the Beinart Notebook on Substack. He is also editor-at-large at Jewish Currents. Peter, it's great to see you again. Thank you for making time for us this afternoon. So Iran's not only accumulated a large stockpile of enriched uranium, it's increased how much it is producing rapidly in just the last 3 months. You know, we'll get into what this means in a moment, but this is what the 2015 nuclear deal was going to prevent from happening. Am I correct or am I wrong? They wanted to make sure that basically the international community had eyes and ears on Iran's breakout capability, which has now been reduced to days.
It was preventing Iran from doing that. According to the international inspectors, according to the Israeli intelligence, according to Trump's own intelligence, Iran was abiding by that deal, which, as you said, kept it at least a year away from building a nuclear weapon if it had decided to. American intelligence did not believe that Iran had decided to build a nuclear weapon, but if they decided to, they would be a year away. And although some of the restrictions eventually ran out, those restrictions lasted for years and in many cases decades. It was the most intrusive inspection program that any government had ever allowed vis-a-vis its nuclear program. Just to be, you know, America doesn't allow that kind of inspections of our nuclear weapons programs. Israel doesn't allow that kind of inspection of its nuclear weapons facilities. So this was an extraordinarily good deal, and it was torpedoed by Donald Trump and his supporters. And now we have gotten exactly what they said they didn't want, which is an Iran with the capacity very quickly to build a nuclear bomb.
What's holding up the deal, you think?
What's holding up the deal right now is an issue that doesn't have to do with nuclear weapons at all. It has to do with the fact that Donald Trump added a new sanction on a part of the Iranian military called the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And he did that specifically as a poison pill to make the politics of withdrawing that sanction really difficult. Now, the sanction is basically irrelevant because the U.S. has so many other sanctions on that same part of the Iranian military. But Joe Biden doesn't want the political fight of being vulnerable to people saying, oh, you're going soft on the Iranian military, which has killed U.S. troops. Remember, it was us who withdrew from the deal. We violated our agreements. The Iranians, terrible regime as they are, they were keeping our agreements. We, who talk always about the rules-based international order that we are defending around the world, we went back on our word, and then we were not willing to go back into the deal when Biden took over. He waited until a new hardline government took over. It's been harder now. And even now, he could re-enter the deal, but he doesn't want the political fight with Congress. And so probably I think the deal is dead, which creates a much more dangerous Middle East at exactly the moment that that's the last thing the United States can afford to deal with as it fights this war in Ukraine.
Do you feel that the Biden administration is taking all of this, seriously enough? I mean, the threat of Israel ramping up its actions towards Iran and leading to a full-blown conflict seem to be getting more real, if you will, by the day.
Absolutely. And in addition, Israel, according to reports, is going around and assassinating, people in Iran's military and has been doing so vis-a-vis scientists. And Iran may very well respond to these things, right? And so when you're carrying out these assassinations and counterattacks by Iran against shipping and other things, you never know when this may tip into something in which you start to get closer into an actual genuine war. And this is why I think what the Biden administration has done is so foolish, because they didn't want to have the political headache of a fight with Congress now. They've kicked the can down the road to a situation where they could very well be facing a real crisis, not just a political crisis, but a geopolitical crisis, later this fall or next year. How is that in their political interest?
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند